Hey everyone, ready to jump into the cloud?
Always ready for a deep dive.
Perfect. Today we're looking at World Insider's article, Cloud-Based Services, Threatening Old Business Models. It just dropped today, October 17th, 2024.
Definitely a hot topic. Seems like every business, big or small, is thinking about the cloud these days.
Absolutely. So let's unpack it. The article makes a point about the cloud impacting everything from like your local bakery to those massive Fortune 500 companies. Where do we even start with something this big?
Well, it's interesting. The article actually traces the roots of this all the way back to the 1960s.
The 60s. Really, cloud computing wasn't even a twinkle in someone's eye back then, was it?
You'd be surprised. Think time sharing. It was the precursor to what we know as cloud computing today.
Time sharing. Okay, for those of us who weren't around then, what did that look like?
Picture this. It's a world before personal computers were everywhere. Time sharing allowed multiple users to access one powerful computer all at the same time.
So, kind of like sharing a giant supercomputer with a bunch of people.
Exactly. It was the first taste of what cloud computing could be. And then, fast forward to 1999. Salesforce jumps into the game with SaaS.
Wow, 99. Amazon had just revolutionized online shopping, and Salesforce was already pioneering software as a service. That's incredible. So, when did things really start to take off?
2006. That's when Amazon Web Services, or AWS, really shook things up.
AWS. That feels like a real turning point.
It was. And then Google and Microsoft jumped in, and by 2020, bam, cloud adoption exploded.
Fueled by the pandemic and that massive shift to remote work, right?
Exactly. But I think a lot of people still find the whole cloud thing a bit mysterious.
It does have an air of mystery, doesn't it? Like, what is it? Where is it? So for those of us who aren't tech wizards, how does it actually work?
Imagine a massive network of super powerful servers, all connected through the internet. Instead of storing your data on your own computer, you're essentially renting space on these remote servers.
So instead of owning the whole pie, you're just taking a slice.
Exactly. And the best part, you only pay for what you use.
Talk about efficient. The article also mentions virtualization as a key part of this whole thing. What exactly is that?
Virtualization is the secret sauce.
Hmm?
It lets one physical server act like many virtual ones. Each one operates independently.
It's like magic. One computer becomes an entire data center.
Exactly. And that makes cloud services incredibly cost-effective and scalable.
Makes sense. Now, the article uses a few acronyms that I think we should unpack a bit. SaaS, PaaS, IES. Let's break those down. What's the difference between, say, using Dropbox and something like Google App Engine?
Good point. Think of those acronyms like layers of a cake. SaaS, or software as a service, is the top layer. It's like renting software online. Dropbox is a perfect example.
You use it through a web browser, but it's not actually on your computer.
Right. You don't install it, manage it, or update it. It's all taken care of.
So what about PaaS? That one always throws me off a bit.
PaaS, or platform as a service, is like renting the tools and materials to build your own software. Think Google App Engine.
So you bring your code, they provide the platform.
Exactly. No need to manage servers or databases. They handle that headache for you. And then
Right.
you have IaaS.
Infrastructure as a service, that one sounds intense.
It is a bit more hands-on. IaaS is like renting the raw computing power. The servers, the storage, the networks.
So it's like building your own house from scratch, but in the digital world?
You got it. You've got complete control, but you're also responsible for managing it all. Amazon Web Services, AWS, is a big player in that arena.
AWS. They're everywhere, it seems. Speaking of major players, the article mentions AWS, along with Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform, as the big three.
They're definitely dominating the cloud space right now. It's a tight race, though.
A cloud showdown. Who's winning?
AWS still has the biggest slice of the pie at about 33% of the market share. Pioneers often have an edge. They were the first, and they've got this huge range of services.
First to the party and still the life of it. What about Microsoft? How do they stack up against AWS?
Microsoft Azure is right behind them at around 22% of the market. Their strength is their connection to Microsoft's existing software.
So if you're already using Office 365, Azure is a natural fit.
Exactly. Seamless integration.
Okay, last but not least, what about Google Cloud Platform?
Google, they're all about the data, right? So it makes sense that Google Cloud Platform excels in data analytics and AI. They've got about 10% of the market right now.
So Google's bringing their data expertise to the cloud. Love it. But with all this hype about cost savings, what's the catch?
But cost savings are great, don't get me wrong, but the cloud offers so much more than that.
Okay, spill the beans. What else have we got?
Think scalability, accessibility from anywhere, automatic software updates, security that most companies wouldn't be able to manage on their own. It's incredible.
So it's not just about saving money, it's about opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
Exactly.
Let's talk about some real-world examples. The article highlights a case study about a bakery, Sweet Delights, in Portland. They were struggling with multiple locations, inventory, customer data, the works.
Classic growing pains.
Yeah.
A lot of small businesses hit that wall.
Right, so they turned to a cloud-based POS system, and it was like night and day. They saw a 30% reduction in waste and a 15% boost in sales. I mean, that's incredible.
It is. But can you imagine trying to convince a huge corporation to make that kind of change?
That's a whole different ballgame. Those companies already have massive IT infrastructures. Can the cloud really make a difference at that scale?
You bet. The article is an example of Megamart, a massive global retailer. They were having serious problems with their on-site systems, crashes, slow performance, especially during peak shopping seasons. Imagine the chaos.
Talk about a digital meltdown at the worst possible time.
It was a disaster waiting to happen, so they went all in on a hybrid cloud solution.
Combining what they already had with the power of the cloud.
Exactly. They decided to go with Microsoft Azure to support their entire e-commerce platform.
Gutsy move. Did it pay off?
It did. They achieved almost perfect uptime, even during those crazy peak seasons. Plus, they significantly lowered their infrastructure costs.
Proof that the cloud can be a game changer no matter how big or small your business is.
Absolutely. And it's not just about retail and food service either. The article goes into some really interesting use cases in healthcare, too.
Oh, yeah. What caught your eye?
Wellness Medical Center. They were stuck with a paper-based system for their patient records.
Paper records in this day and age. Yikes. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It was. They made the switch to a cloud-based electronic health record system.
And it transformed everything for them.
It did. Suddenly, patient records were accessible from anywhere, which was huge for care coordination. They were even able to integrate it with their labs to automate test results in real time.
Wow, that's amazing.
And it drastically reduced errors. It goes to show the cloud can quite literally make a life or death difference in healthcare.
That's powerful. But with all this talk about sensitive information being stored in the cloud, we have to address the elephant in the room: security. What are some of the concerns, and what can businesses do to protect themselves?
You're right, security is a major concern. Data breaches are a huge risk. It's like you're building a digital fortress to protect all that sensitive information.
And like any good fortress, it needs to be impenetrable. So how do you build those walls?
Encryption is key. It's like scrambling your data so that even if someone breaks in, they can't read it.
Like putting a lock on that data and swallowing the key.
Exactly. And it's not just about encrypting data at rest. Encrypting data while it's being transferred is just as important.
So it's like having an armored truck for your data as it moves around.
Exactly. Then you have access control, making sure only authorized people can get to the good stuff. And of course, regular security audits are a must.
Like having a security guard patrol your digital fortress 24/7.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process, not a one-time thing.
Vigilance is key.
Yeah.
Now, the article also mentions compliance. How does that play into all of this?
Compliance means making sure your cloud setup meets all the specific security rules and regulations for your industry.
So it's like building your digital fortress to code.
Precisely. If you're handling personal data from people in the EU, you need to comply with GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation.
Right. And HIPAA for healthcare.
Exactly. HIPAA sets strict rules for protecting patient health information. And for anyone handling credit card transactions, there's PCI DSS, the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard.
So many acronyms to keep track of. It's a lot, but those regulations are there for a reason.
Absolutely. They protect people and businesses.
For businesses just starting to explore the cloud, it can feel overwhelming. Any advice?
Remember, you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Cloud security is a team effort. Your cloud provider should be responsible for securing their infrastructure, and you need to protect your data and applications.
A shared responsibility.
Right. Choose a provider with a good track record and certifications. And always remember, security is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Love that. Now let's unpack a couple more technical terms. The article mentions containerization. What is that exactly?
Imagine packing a suitcase. You wouldn't just throw everything in a jumbled mess, right?
Definitely not. Organization is key, even when traveling.
Exactly. With containerization, it's like packing your application into neat little containers, making it easy to move and deploy across different environments.
So it's all about portability and organization.
Exactly.
Then there's Kubernetes, which sounds really complex. What's that all about?
Kubernetes is like the conductor of an orchestra. When you've got all these containers, things can get chaotic. Kubernetes helps manage and orchestrate them all, making sure they're working together seamlessly.
Keeping everything in sync.
Right. And it scales up or down as needed.
So what you're saying is Kubernetes is the maestro of the cloud orchestra. I love it. Okay, let's talk about something that sounds almost too good to be true. Serverless computing. Are we really talking about a world without servers?
It's a bit of a misnomer, like saying wireless when there's still wires somewhere. With serverless computing, the servers are still there, but you don't have to deal with them directly.
So it's like having a ghost IT crew taking care of everything behind the scenes.
You got it. You focus on your code, and the cloud provider handles the rest. You only pay for the actual compute time you use.
Sounds efficient. What kind of applications are a good fit for that serverless approach?
Applications that are triggered by events or have workloads that go up and down unpredictably. Imagine you have a function that processes images. With serverless, it only kicks in when an image needs processing. You're not paying for idle time.
Like a motion sensor light, but for applications. That's brilliant. We touched on edge computing earlier. Can you remind us what that's all about?
Sure. Edge computing is all about bringing the processing power closer to where the data is being generated.
Instead of sending it all the way to a data center somewhere, right?
Exactly. With the rise of data-intensive apps and the Internet of Things, or IoT, edge computing is only becoming more important.
It makes sense. It's like having a local branch office that can handle some of the work independently.
Exactly. That speeds things up and takes some of the load off the main data center.
So what are the main benefits?
Speed is a big one. Processing data closer to the source reduces that annoying lag, making things faster and more responsive.
In our fast-paced world, every millisecond counts.
Right. But it's not just about speed. Edge computing can also improve security and privacy, since less data needs to travel over the internet.
Which is a big deal these days.
Huge.
Okay, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to circle back to a topic that's near and dear to my heart, artificial intelligence. AI. The article talks about AI being integrated with cloud services. What does that mean exactly?
It's huge. AI isn't some far-off fantasy anymore. It's becoming a part of the cloud as we speak. What's really cool is that this integration makes powerful AI tools available to businesses of all sizes, not just tech giants.
So it's like having an army of AI assistants ready to analyze your data, predict trends, and automate those tedious tasks.
Exactly. We're seeing some incredible innovation in this area. There are machine learning platforms that allow you to build your own AI models. And then there are pre-trained AI services that can do things like image recognition, natural language processing, even building chatbots.
Chatbots are everywhere these days. It's amazing how far AI has come.
I know. The cloud is making it a reality for everyone.
Democratizing access to some of the most transformative technology out there. What does the future hold for this powerful combination of AI and the cloud?
The possibilities are endless. Picture this: a cloud-based customer service system that can predict what your customers need before they even ask, or a marketing platform that can tailor campaigns with incredible accuracy.
It's like having mind-reading marketers on your team.
Exactly. The lines between cloud services and AI are blurring, and I, for one, am excited to see what comes next.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a whole new era of automation. But before we get too far into the future, let's take a step back and talk about some of the potential downsides to all of this.
You're right. It's not all sunshine and roses. There are challenges and concerns that we need to address.
So let's dive into those thorny issues. What are some of the potential downsides to this cloud revolution, and what can we do to mitigate them?
One of the biggest concerns is vendor lock-in.
Vendor lock-in. Okay, let's break that down. What does that mean exactly?
It's when you become so reliant on one specific cloud provider that it's difficult and expensive to switch to a different one. It's like building your dream home on rented land.
And you're kind of stuck if the landlord decides to jack up the rent or change the rules.
Exactly. You lose a lot of bargaining power. That's why it's crucial to carefully consider your options and avoid putting all your eggs in one basket, so to speak.
So diversification is key. Don't just jump into bed with the first cloud provider that winks at you.
Exactly. Shop around, compare prices, understand the terms of service. It's also important to think about data portability.
Right. You need to be able to move your data if you need to.
Exactly. Make sure you can easily migrate your data if you decide to switch providers or even bring it back in-house. It's your data, after all. You should always be in control.
Data is king. Or queen, depending on the day. Okay, another concern that often comes up with the cloud is reliability. What happens if the internet goes down?
That's a great point. We've all experienced internet outages at some point. They're frustrating, right?
Infuriating,
Yeah.
especially when you've got work to do.
Right. And when your business operations are in the cloud, a reliable internet connection is mission critical. It's like the lifeblood of your digital operations.
So what can businesses do to mitigate that risk?
Redundancy is key. Having backup internet connections, maybe even from different providers, can prevent a single point of failure. Some businesses even opt for a hybrid cloud setup, where they keep some critical operations on site as a safety net.
So it's like having a backup generator for when the power goes out. Smart.
Exactly. It's all about having a plan B and maybe even a plan C. Now let's talk about another potential downside, one that hits close to home for a lot of people's jobs.
Right, automation.
Exactly. The cloud has the potential to automate many tasks that are currently done by humans, from data entry and customer service to even some aspects of software development.
It's the double-edged sword of technological advancement.
It is. While the cloud can certainly create new jobs, especially in areas like cloud computing and AI, it can also displace workers in certain sectors.
So how do we navigate that transition? It's important to acknowledge that this shift is happening and to prepare for it.
I agree. Investing in education and training programs that equip workers with the skills they need for the jobs of the future is crucial.
Absolutely. We need to be proactive in helping people adapt to this evolving job market. Okay, so we've talked about the amazing benefits of the cloud, but we've also acknowledged that there are potential downsides that we can't ignore.
Exactly. Like any powerful tool, the cloud comes with its own set of challenges.
It's all about weighing those risks and rewards and making informed decisions, right?
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the future of cloud computing. What's on the horizon? What exciting developments should we be keeping an eye on?
What does the crystal ball say? What does the future hold for this ever-evolving cloud landscape?
Hold on tight, because things are about to get really interesting. Think quantum computing, for starters.
Quantum computing,
Yeah.
that sounds like something straight out of Star Trek.
I know, right? It's mind-blowing. Quantum computers are incredibly powerful. They can solve problems in seconds that would take classical computers, even supercomputers, millions of years.
Millions of years condensed into seconds. That's insane. But how does that tie into the cloud?
Well, imagine being able to access that kind of computing power through the cloud. It would be a game changer for fields like medicine, material science, artificial intelligence, you name it.
It's like giving everyone on the planet access to a superpower.
Exactly. And it's not just about raw power. Quantum computing can also enhance security, especially when it comes to encryption.
So, unhackable data. Sign me up. What else is brewing on the horizon?
We're also going to see the rise of what they're calling the Internet of Everything, or IoE.
Okay, we had the Internet of Things. Now it's the Internet of Everything. What's the difference?
The Internet of Things was really just the beginning. The Internet of Everything takes it to a whole new level, connecting not just devices, but also people, processes, data, everything.
Everything. Okay, now I'm really feeling like I'm living in a science fiction movie.
I know, but it's exciting. Think smart cities that can optimize traffic flow, reduce energy consumption, even predict and prevent crime.
And all of that is powered by the cloud.
Exactly. The cloud becomes the central nervous system connecting and controlling everything.
Mind-blowing. It's clear that the future of cloud computing is bright, brimming with possibilities. As we wrap up, I want to thank our expert for joining us today and for taking us on this incredible journey into the cloud.
It was my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Remember, the future is closer than it appears, and it's being built on a foundation of cloud computing. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep your heads in the cloud.